Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have another edition of Premiere Pro with Mr. Wade. Today we're going to be learning about audio, and today we're going to be playing around with the existing project, the Year Film assignment that we finished up a couple weeks ago. Because audio is just an easy add-on to this existing project. As you might have noticed in that folder, there were some sounds that I already assembled. I've also added more sounds in the most recent Google Classroom folder, YouTube sound effects. This is a pretty useful folder full of royalty-free sound effects that are very popular and widely used on YouTube. All right, so to begin with, we do have the audio workspace up here that you can play around with to use more advanced effects, which among other things will help the dialogue music sound effects or ambient sound. You can balance it out. Today we're not going to be that advanced. I just want you to know that there's a lot of possibilities here. Instead, we're just going to be doing some pretty basic effects. Now, the first thing that you should do, I recommend, is clicking on your audio track and dragging down a little bit. Now, doing so will reveal a white line cut across the middle of every shot in your audio track. And basically what this is the audio line. And this is controlling the volume in decibels. You can see it starts out with 0, and then you can add or subtract however you'd like. Another important feature here that is easily adjusted is that you can add keyframes to this. And of course you can add keyframes up here too, but it's quite very simple in the timeline. You're just going to hold and float your cursor over this line. And it should, every time you press Command or Control, it should reveal a plus sign. And what this is going to do is allow you to add keyframes. I've just added 2, and you can pull down, you can pull up. You can click on it and drag it around if you want it to be in a different spot. And this will, as you can imagine, allow the audio to fade in and out. And this is especially useful when you have something like music, where you don't want to really draw attention to the music changing abruptly, because that will be distracting. And distraction is bad. All right, so we do have this project that we know and love and remember well. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do today, this audio has been fairly balanced. We don't really have to change the individual audio shots. But as you might have noticed in your editing of this, there was changes in the audio, very subtle changes that happened when the cameras switched back and forth. Now, this is something that always happens anytime you record the same space with different cameras. Different cameras are picking up different sounds even in the same space. They're that sensitive. So what you should do anytime you're doing a shoot with multiple cameras is get a recording of room tone, or if not, the ambiance. Now, room tone is basically like a recording of an empty room, but you can also get sometimes ambiance files like this one. This is a big old recording of restaurant sound. So let's play it again with everything. And as you can see here, I'll open up this audio track a little bit more. The music gets a little bit louder as the scene progresses.
Maybe there's one thing.
It's too loud. So what we're going to do is we are going to change this by simply dragging the volume line down. I'll take it down to maybe negative 7.9.
Well, maybe there's...
So what we have here is just some textured sound that helps fill in the transitions between shots.
Maybe there's one thing we can agree on?
Okay, so I'm satisfied with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this to this shot, because this shot signifies an outdoor scene where we no longer need the restaurant sound. But if you were playing around with this particular shot, you might have noticed this. Very subtle, but the director yells out, "Turn," right there. We don't need sound here really at all, especially if it's going to involve a director yelling out instructions. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab the volume line and drag it to -0. That's killed the volume entirely. But we need outdoor sound. Fortunately, we have some here. And we'll drag that in. Okay, so there we've added ambient sound. Next up, we'll be playing around with sound effects and music. Okay, one thing that I hope you're noticing is that it's good to stay organized in everything that we do in Premiere Pro. For sound, you should basically be allocating one track per one type of audio. For instance, here I have all the vocals here. Here I have all the ambient sound. And next up, I'll be adding music. Okay, and I'll be adding music right about here when he pops open the ring. Boom, right there. And something that we can always do is we can drop in shots or sound along wherever we want the playhead to be, this blue line. So that's exactly where I want it. So I'm going to grab this music and I'm going to drag it in. Ooh, sorry, I got to cut that like that. Okay, I'm going to squeeze in to look closer up by dragging my scroll bar in. As you notice, it's like perfectly lined, but the music doesn't start until a little bit in. So I'll drag it in a little bit. Now this is going to be kind of funny music, so there's no need to like fade in because, well, the effect is going to be a little bit silly. Let's take a look.
Maybe.
Okay, so it does dramatically end though, and I don't like the dramatic ending to that. I'm going to fade it out, and again, we'll be using keyframes. Okay, so I'm holding Command for Mac or Control for PC. I'm clicking on the volume line, creating keyframes, and then I'm just going to drag it out. Okay, so this will fade to 0. All right. So very romantic, very, very beautiful. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a sound effect. This is the straight up sound effect. It's not really, as you might have noticed, all the audio files look the same unless you tag them. There's no real way to know the difference. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it down here. If you ever want to go and create a different or a new track, what you can do is just drag it to the top or bottom of the existing tracks, and suddenly we have a new track, in this case, track 4. Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'd like this to be added when they turn. This is a dramatic dum dum dum. You've also seen a lot on YouTube. And I'm going to drag this out a little bit. I'm looking at the wavelength of when it starts. And here it is right here. Okay, we're going to play. All right, so that is a very basic introduction to audio. To sum up, once again, you want to stay organized. Keep your audio types organized in different tracks. You can add keyframes to fade in or fade out music by touching Command or Control and clicking on the volume line. And you can also change the volume by just grabbing it and pulling it up or down. The other thing that you should remember is that you can also save a lot of time by just looking at the audio, seeing the wavelength, and then knowing where things should fall. And that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this amazing tutorial. Smash that like button. See you later.